Hey everyone. Um, so, I know a lot of you have known about this, but a few weeks ago, my mom had passed away, and it's been a couple of days after my mom's funeral, and the funeral was a traditional Catholic Latin Mass, Even though I don't really consider myself religious, I consider myself agnostic and an atheist. I did that sort of Mass for her and, did a burial for her as a respect for her wishes because my mom was a committed traditional Catholic per se. Well, in beliefs, of course. Um, what has been happening since the death of my mom has been a lot. Believe me, I've been expecting my mom to die in for her ailments per se, her having lupus, sciatica, scleroderma, Raynaud's, having a lot of back pain from experiencing and enduring a lot of domestic violence from my dad. I knew that she was going to die. I just I just wasn't emotionally prepared for it. And I know a lot of people will say nobody is emotionally prepared for it, but when I say this, it's mostly on the basis of my mom and I having this really strong relationship because we really formed this strong bond and relationship with each other on the day that my dad got arrested, and we made a pinky promise, the strongest form of a promise that we can make towards each other as a commitment to not having our dad come back into our lives. And it's just, we formed that bond. And we have shared with each other, we have yelled at each other, we have cried with each other, we've laughed with each other. We have been trying to work out a lot of our emotional trauma with each other. And that has been a long process. It took a lot of learning and it took a lot of growth from each other ever since, my dad just got out of our lives. And when I say this, it also comes into play a lot of foreshadowing into another thing that happened since the death of my mom. But first, I just want to say if you have any cherished loved ones, please make sure that you let them know that you love them. You don't have to always tell it. You can show them appreciation by helping them out. You can just try to be honest with them, help them out, and be a lot more emotionally open for them because losing a loved one and knowing the words that you would say is pretty impactful. The last words to my mom were, "I love you," and I gave her a hug. That's what gives me peace. And knowing that my mom is not suffering anymore with the ailments that she has endured for a long time, it it gives me that form of closure. And just knowing what we have been through, it gives me a lot more knowledge about the things that I could have gone through and knowledge about the world in its entirety when it comes down to family relationships and when it comes to abuse or anything of that sort. I have survived way too much to give up on life now. And I've been getting a lot of help from family friends about the funeral. I'm getting a lot of help with like finances. I'm getting a lot of help from like stuff like like the company that happens to be helping my little brother and sister because they are severely mentally disabled. And just knowing that, I'm also going into something that I never expected myself to do. But honestly, I'm glad I did. I finally spoke to my abuser. I spoke to the person who has caused so much emotional, mental, and physical anguish. The man I witness and have experienced abuse from. I finally talked to my dad. Now, here's how it happened. My godfather suggested that I contact him for possibly helping out pay for the funeral as a form of penance. Now, if you don't know what penance is sort of like retribution, uh, or, so like making up what you have done to another person. Now, his penance for the funeral would be helping out to pay for the funeral, chip in, or anything of that sort. And at first, I said, fuck no, I am not talking to that bastard. Believe me, I had so much anger, so much resentment, and so much fury that I wanted to inflict on that man. I wanted to inflict on him 10 times as much damage that he has done to my mom, me, and many of my loved ones. But then I decided talking to him and doing anything in order to make sure that my mom has the proper burial and making sure that everything goes right, I had to do it. Believe me, it was possibly the hardest thing I could ever do. I had to put aside so much resentment, so much pain, so much anger, and so much trauma just to talk to him. And I did. Now, the first thing I said was, could you please help out pay for the funeral? And also, I asked him for his own penance to me. Now, I didn't ask for money. I didn't ask for anything physical. I didn't even ask for any sort of I don't know, just for a moment for him to suddenly receive what he's been inflicting onto others. No. What I asked for him is his most sincerest, most considerate, and his most honest apology that he can ever give to me. That's all I asked him. That's it. Because that's worth more than anything. That is worth more than the richest person in the world. That is worth a lot to me because you know how I am so apologetic? Because this man made me walk eggshells. This man made me fear for my mom's life, my own life, my loved one's life, every single bit of that situation. And in that environment, I felt like I was going to get myself killed or get someone killed. And I decided to ask him to take into consideration the damage that he has done to my mom, me, and my loved ones, especially to me. I was honest about him. I was honest about the physical abuse that he made me endure. I was honest about the way he would demean me, the way he would devalue me, the way he would put his worth comparing himself, because he went to Oxford, to me. The way he would make me feel about being on the autism spectrum. The way he would make me feel about speaking. About the way I disagreed with him. About the way I couldn't speak out. About the way I couldn't express how I felt and how he has hurt me. That's what I said to him. You know what he did? He listened. He listened to what I just said. And after I was done, he said, I will definitely do a lot of prayer and reflection on that, and I will get back to you. That's what I said to him. I said to really give it some thought. I don't care if he gives me the apology in 1 month, 10 years, or even on his deathbed. That's all I want. I want him to acknowledge all the pain he has made me witness and all the abuse. I'm sorry. I wanted him to acknowledge all the abuse that he's inflicted on to mom, me, my little brother and sister, many of my loved ones. That's all I ever wanted. Just for his acknowledgement. And I'm glad that I got that out. Now, before I go on, I just want to say, the only reason I did this is just so I can emotionally and mentally move on. Because guess what? I knew I could have just done so much worse. I knew I could have just, gotten my revenge on him. I knew I could have just either beaten the shit out of him or do anything 10 times as worse as the abuse that he's inflicted onto my mom, me, or any of my loved ones. But that wouldn't be right. It would be justified and understandable by many people, but it wouldn't give me closure. What did give me closure is for him to listen. Now, this doesn't mean that all is forgiven, he's back in my life, or anything like that. In fact, the next time I'm seeing him, I'm going to meet him in person, and I'm going to tell him off. You wasted your chance at life with mom, I, and my little brother and sister. You wasted that chance. This is the consequence. He would say stuff like, oh, I just want to be back in your life. No, you wasted your chance with me. And this is the long-term consequence. At the same time, there was a side of me that saw his humanity. And what I said to him was, I hope that you're getting the help that you need. I know that he has bipolar disorder with a mixture of alcoholism and the mixture of trauma that he received because when I was a little kid, I would see my dad get beaten the shit out of by a police officer. And that really did a 180 on him. He became a nasty, hostile, vicious, violent abuser towards mom, I, and my little brother and sister. That's the one thing I'm willing to say. Because I believe in rehabilitation. But without accountability and justice, rehabilitation cannot take place without accountability or justice. And that's why I just said. That's why I said to him. I said, I hope that you're getting the help that you need. And I hope you're not hurting anybody else. And if you get one more chance at life, I hope you don't waste it. That's what I said to him. And when I meet him, I will say this. You are not going to live in my mind rent-free. You are not going to control my emotions. Because before I talked to him, I was extremely angry and bitter. I don't really show it all that much, but I would clench my fist and grind my teeth every single time I would get easily agitated. But now, ever since I talked to him and ever since I told him how I felt, I don't really do that all that much anymore. In fact, I'm a lot more emotionally composed. I'm a lot more confident. I'm a lot more, just emotionally healthy. And once I did that, I realized that the best way I can do this is to make sure that he knows that he wasted his chance. The worst consequence that he will ever receive is the fact that he will never ever see me again. And I could be worse. I could beat the shit out of him. I could tell him off and I could call him the meanest, nastiest names I could ever say to him and really hurt him emotionally, mentally, or physically. But no, I'm not going to stoop down to that level. I know I'm a better person than that. I could justify every single nasty, abusive action that I could do to him or to anybody else and just say, I am a victim of abuse. I am a victim of my trauma. But then I realized that just because I happen to be within that environment growing up does not mean that I have to be a product of that environment. I've been doing a lot of self-reflection, and I've been doing a lot of work on my character and a lot of work on myself. And I'm still doing that. I'm still learning a lot, and I'm still trying to do every single bit of therapy for myself just so I can get through this. Because guess what? I don't want to be emotionally out of control. I don't want to let my emotions control me as a person. I want to be emotionally healthy. And the best thing I can do is vent about it. Talk about my emotions. Talk about my trauma. Be open about it with the right people. And just be open about this. I have suffered so much in life, and yet I'm still alive and thriving. And I'm not going to give up on life. I have a lot to accomplish. I have a lot of dreams, and I'm not going to give them up. I have accomplished and I've stood up for myself in so many ways whatsoever. I am not easily to manipulate. I am willing to give you respect and human dignity. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to give you the ability to manipulate me, to control me, to abuse me, or anything like that, because I am willing to be stern yet civil, hold you accountable yet see your humanity. And that's a promise I made myself. I am committed to the promise of my mom and I that he's not welcome back to our lives. And I'm willing to keep that promise. And I'm willing to say to him, you are never, ever welcome in my life. You wasted your chance. You have abused so many people. This is your consequence for abusing so many people. When you abuse people, they want to stay away from you, and I'm willing to say that to his face. And right now, I'm glad that I got that out. And I'm going to face him. And I'm going to say how I felt. It was a lot. I have been through so much in life. I've experienced so much in so many ways whatsoever. But at the same time, I'm glad that I have those experiences. Because it made me smarter. It made me a lot more knowledgeable. And it made me realize that humanity is complex and emotions are complex. And it made me realize that abuse can come in so many ways and can really affect another person. And I'm also glad that I've broken the cycle when I spoke to him. To my mom, I love you. Thank you for giving me the strength in your heart, teaching me about kindness and caring. And I'm glad you're not suffering anymore. I love you so much, Mom. I know you're going to be resting in peace. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll definitely update you on the day that I finally meet him and confront him. It's going to be a lot, and it's going to take a bit, but once I get my life in order, it'll be great. I'm making a lot of progress.